So to begin, what I've done is just primed it all in a nice matte black. And then for as far as paints that we need, some kind of a dark brown, a copper or bronze, a brighter gold, some white for repainting the plasma light area, and then here I've got a dark red and a bright red for painting those light areas, but again that could be in a green or a blue or a purple or a pink or whatever you want really, same kind of process. Other options, be looking at maybe using some kind of oranges or dark orange for rust effects, a turquoise colour for creating the verdigris, and then after that some other options you might want to, if you want to take it a bit further, are some rust pigments or a streaking grime for creating some more grimy, extra dirty look. The other paint we'll need is good old lead belcher or some other suitably darkish metal silvery colour. Apart from that, of course, we'll need some brushes and some water to get us going. A really useful thing is some packing foam, which we'll be using to basically sponge paint on and get a nice texture effect. Starting off, we're going to start off with the dark brown colour. Here I'm using charred brown. Going to chuck some of that into palette. Don't need to worry really about watering this one down because we want it nice and chunky, and we're just going to simply go in, get a bunch on a bit of the ripped up sponge and going to dab away. You can kind of combine either just dabbing and also even smearing it around. Remember here the whole thing is we're going to just build up lots of layering of different textured colours, so you really don't need to be tidy. In fact, you want to try and avoid getting a patterned look, because if you're too patterned then it doesn't look as good as being completely random, which is surprisingly harder than you think to be completely random. And it doesn't really matter even if you go over this area, because as anything, like more colours you put on, the more it kind of builds it up and more it looks a bit more natural than just single layers and single textures. Once you've put that base layer of the brown on, we're going to go and grab our silver. And pretty much the same thing, you can just use the same bit of sponge, doesn't matter if you get a bit of crossover colour. And then again, we're just gonna dab away and just keep dabbing and splatting. And again, don't really need to worry if you think you've gone like kind of too much on there. We can always just go back with the brown and re-dab over the top. Again, just building up those layers, building up the textures, building up the grungy mess. Keep dabbing, just keep dabbing. And you see a bit much there. I'm going to go back over, just gone over and dab back into the brown that I still got there, and just going to do a few plops over the top, and you can see how very quickly that breaks up that kind of solid silver that was building up there. And you can go a bit back and forth. And we're starting to get that nice beaten up old rusty metal look. Then it's just a matter of how bright or dark you want it to be. Want it to be darker, add more brown. Want it to be brighter, add more silver. You could go up of course to a brighter silver as well. I'm just keeping mine pretty grungy and dark, so just sticking with the good old faithful lead belcher. And that's going to be me for now. Next we're going to move on to the central motif area, and I'm going to start off with here I've got hammered copper, but any kind of darkish bronze copper colour is going to do. And pretty much going to do exactly the same thing. Splot some colour out there. grab our good old sponge, dab it in, and same difference. We're going to just dab in. This time we're trying to be a bit more careful. We're trying to keep it all in the border and not over on the edges. And you can see as I dab along the edge, colouring it up with the coppery colour, but we've still got that underlying mess from before, giving us nice grungy textures. Good. And that's that one. Then we're going to move on to the brighter gold. Again, this is, you don't have to go this level, but we're going to go to the next one, and this one we're just going to try and focus on just the Battle Kiwi and Silver Fern icon here, which is definitely a completely unique design. Same sponge, don't need to worry about the colours contaminating because it just adds to the layering. And then this one we're just going a bit lighter and not pushing down so hard, so that way it's just going to stay on this top section. And again, if you do go down deeper, doesn't really matter, because we can always go back in and tidy it up or mess it up. It's probably the more appropriate term. Here we go, it's coming along nice. Now you can choose to either leave the back, this outside surround, you could leave it the same, or you could brighten up again with the more goldy colour. I'm just going to leave it with just the icon being in the brighter colour. Cool, and then that's that for now. What we're going to do now is just let it to dry, and then we're going to go back in and add some of the patina and verdigris with the next colour. What we're going to do now is just add a bit of the old verdigris. Now you can get pre-made paints for that, special effects paints, and you can just chuck that on, which works great. Or the other option is if you have a nice turquoise, we can just mix it up with a bit of water. Just don't need very much. A little bit of a dab on there, and then grab your brush, chuck a bunch of water in there, and mix it up. So you want a lot more water than paint here. We're trying to get nice translucent, and then just the way stuff builds up, we want to kind of put it around in the little indenty areas. In all the corners, looks really good. And with this, you can put a bit, and then if there's not enough effect, you can just go back in and do another layer, going around the rivets, just those kind of places where it takes less wear and it's more likely to build up with the time and damage if it gets weather beaten. Because obviously this has been around for millennia. And the nice thing about doing it when it's nicely diluted is you're not going to have such a strong effect. You can always just go back in, and if it looks a bit too strong, you can just add a bit of water. As with anything with painting, it's a lot easier to keep building up and add more than it is to take it away after you've finished, unless you're using oil paints and such, which of course is another option you might wish to explore. Using a finger, if you split it all over, you can use your finger and just kind of rub it off as well to kind of tone it down so it doesn't pull quite as much. So you can just chuck it all on, give it the old dab dab. See? You knew finger painting would come in useful one day. All those years of training at school. You can see as I start building it up, that extra layer of colour really starts making it come alive, or come dead, come old. I don't know what the term would be there. And yeah, that's kind of pretty much getting there. Again, you can go as much as you want, as little as you want, depends on how you want it to look really. There's no real right or wrong way with this, because stuff just weathers differently everywhere, so just keep going. Or, as I said before, reusing the old colours to come back over and add layers if you feel you've gone too far one way or the other. Cool, so that will do for now. Next thing we're going to do is look at painting up the plasma lighty area here. So for this, we're going to start off with the white. Just going to repaint this area in white, just so that way when we put the actual colour that we want on the lights, that it comes back up brighter. If we put it on now on the black, it'll be lots more subdued and won't really kind of sell that looking like a light or power plasma is burning or doing anything. For this one, we will go back to using a brush instead of the sponge. We want to water it down just so it's easier to fill into the holes here, and we're just kind of going along, especially the kind of the bottom edge where that light's going to be the brightest, because as opposed to normal painting, when you're painting lights, it's kind of the opposite way around, where the recesses are kind of where the light's actually pulling brighter. Whereas if you're painting normally, you know, the recesses are the shadows. And that's it, we'll leave that to dry. Let's get this light going. So we're going to start off with the darker red. Give that a little shake. Kind of pop some out. Not going to leave that much. And then for this one, we're going to go with our good old friend, the dry brush. So, bit of red on there. Get most of it off. And we're just gonna, oops, okay, that's still wet. Don't do that, friends, wait till it's dry. Okay, let's try that again, shall we? And listen to my own advice. So make sure this is dry, then get a bit of red, or green, or purple, or blue, or whatever color you want your light to be. And then we're just gonna brush it on. And what we want to do is actually go over the edges of the outside to get more of that kind of light spilling over the edge effect. And we want to get kind of on the edges, we're going to want to mostly leave the white brighter edge down there, but we can always tidy that up if we need to. Next, what we're going to do is just get some of the brighter colour, a bit of a brighter version of the colour we're using, a brighter red in this case. And again, very watered down, just getting a little bit of that on our brush. And what we're going to do is just go in over those white areas, and we're just basically doing like a very light wash. And you can see that kind of starts tinting that colour. This is also a good area, like you could use watered down contrasts, would work quite well for this. Just keep in mind that you want to try and get the brighter areas in the recesses as opposed to in the shadows in the recesses. Hopefully that makes some kind of sense. Coming up the edges, doing a bit on the tops, a little bit on the top runners with that bright colour. like so. And that starts getting that effect going. Might just do another little dry brush with the little bit brighter red. And if you can, what you want to do is get it more like right on that sharp edge of the box. Get a little bit more brightness on that edge. More of a precise effect, then what you would want to do is actually go in with a paintbrush, and then you can actually paint along the edge, get a brighter finish. So that's probably pretty much us. We could stop here now, or if we want to take it a little bit further and get it even more beaten up and weathered, then what we can do for the next step is apply some kind of rust effects to the outside area. I've got a army painted dry rust here, but you can just use kind of dark oranges and brighter oranges. And I've also got some pigments which we'll chuck on as well. Like I say, this is completely optional. You can go as much as you want or as little as you want. So basically just going to have a little bit of a play with that. With the rust effect, it's pretty much just a thicker kind of dark orange terracotta-y. Same kind of deal as previous, where we can just use a bit of sponge and just in some kind of areas we can dab it on. You can see it goes on fairly strong, but again we can just kind of give it a finger dab or use another bit of sponge to kind of tone it down if you want. We can do the same thing with some of the pigments. Here I've got like a dark rust and a ochre rust. And pretty much just gonna dab some on in those same areas. And really what this does, it just gives us that more natural, multiple kind of colours of different stages of rust going on. This stuff's pretty fun because you can, as with the rest of this, you can go as little or as strong as you like, and you can't really mess it up. And that's our rust pigments done. And again, one last completely optional step is going to do a little bit of streaking drying, and that's just adding some little weather rain streaks coming off of the rivets and such. This stuff is pretty fun because you can put it on and then just wipe it back off with some white spritz if it goes wrong. Again, we're just applying it around things like rivets, corners, just sweeping down, some running water effects. I'm using the winter streaking drum here, but there's lots of different versions. Doesn't really matter which one you use, just depends on the colour kind of look you want to have. And there we have it, all done. And yeah, you can add more take it away, just keep going back and forth using the different colours, having good fun, having a good play. And exactly the same technique for the whole rest of the box, covering up the sides to be the same kind of style, and slide it all together and you're off to battle.